Welcome to the Solemn Vanguard channel. Today we talk about 5 tips to improve at the game of Vanguard. So some of these will be basic, other ones will be slightly less basic, but do keep in mind, if you're this huge pro player who's stopping every single event, you probably don't need this video. But for everyone else, let's go. Tip 1, and this one is probably the most basic of this whole video, yet often overlooked. Magic numbers. Now a lot of people will go, I know that, and sure, most do. In Vanguard you always guard in counts of 5. You count for 5k, 10k, 15k and so forth. So in order to make your opponent guard slightly more, you should hit a magic number. Meaning it's better to attack an 11k Vanguard with 26k than with 25k. Because if you are attacking with 25, that means your opponent needs 15k guard in order to become 26, and so your 25 won't hit. However, if you are attacking with 26k, his 15k guard will not be enough, and so he will have to use 20k guard, which is usually an extra card. You always want to be hitting magic numbers. These magic numbers will generally be 11, 16, 21, 26, assuming that your opponent's Vanguard is an 11k. Now earlier in the game, when your opponent is 7k or 9k, magic numbers are of course different, or if your opponent is something like Gallop with 13k, every single magic number is different yet again. So you always want to make sure that your columns hit the magic numbers as often as possible in order to ensure that your opponent has to drop way more guard. Now this is a basic concept most people get. However, sometimes when you're doing lots of combos where you give power on various places, you might make a slight mistake hitting unideal numbers or slightly less magical numbers than you could. I even made this mistake in one of the games against Nikki on video even, where I gave the 3k for my trigger, or maybe from Big Belly skill the 4k, on some wrong place, not hitting a magic number, but I could have given it somewhere else and hit that magic number. So even though everyone knows the concept, sometimes you really have to start thinking ahead, knowing, oh wait, I might hit a magic number after a few more interactions, so you really gotta keep that in mind. So that's tip 1, magic numbers. Tip 2 is probability calculation. We've already went over this, the luck aspect in Vanguard. Now, probability calculation means you can check out your opponent's drop zone, their damage zone, their soul, and that way you know certain things about their deck. For example, if there are 16 triggers in the drop zone, you know there are none in the deck. Therefore, it is absolutely crucial that you always keep counting which cards are in play, maybe in hand, and that way figure out what's still in the deck, so you know how much you should be guarding, because you can assume your opponent will trigger a certain amount. This is calculating the probability of him or her hitting those triggers, and that will help you tremendously. Some people often overguard or underguard simply because they didn't count how many triggers are still in that deck compared to how thick the deck still is. Tip 3, and this actually ties into what we just spoke about, remembering drive checks. Because actually the hand in Vanguard is really well known. Because of all those drive checks, you usually know what's in your opponent's hand, at least like 50 to 70%, depending on how much your opponent draws. Because of course, if he uses many skills that draws, you don't know what he drew into. But if he does like 5 drive checks, like for Overlord, you know 5 cards already. So if you just remember what's going into your opponent's hand and what's going out, you will be able to make way better choices. For example, let's say I just saw him get 4 heal triggers into his hand because of whatever drive checks, and he hasn't G-guarded yet. That means he can G-guard 4 times. So it would be really unwise of me to use a card that restricts perfect guards, because I know damn well that the G guards are coming anyway. So I wouldn't go into Wailing, or I wouldn't go into Gilles de Rais in Dark Regular. I might not be willing to go into Diablo and Luard because I know, hey, he got those heals, he's gonna G-guard anyway. I might as well do something else. Perhaps force out those G-guards with that other move and then get into the guard restrict when those G-guards are out of the picture. That's why you always want to be remembering what your opponent drive checked, so that you can then make way more wise decisions. Tip 4, build your deck for the meta. So if you know that the meta is completely filled with Link Joker, it might be really dumb to play a super rearguard reliant deck that has no way of unlocking and can't do anything without rearguards, because you know damn well that chaos is coming, as an example. So maybe you really wanted to play, I don't know, Musketeers, but it might just be smarter to go for Victor this time around. Now, that's macro, of course, just picking which clan, but let's say you're really adamant and you want to stick to your clan, then you can still build around the meta, because if you know chaos is coming, you might as well play some pokers in your Nitros deck. I spoke about this before. For example, I ran Dismal in my Tavas deck because I knew that Gridora was coming, and so they would often try to attack my rear guards when I put them down earlier because they want to get that one column empty. So if I have a Dismal ready, I can counter that matchup a little bit better that way. Or a way better example, running Almirage in Great Nature allows you to fuck Gridora's skill as well. So just by knowing what's in the meta, you can slightly alter your deck and that way be way better prepared. Tip 5, and this is the final tip, know your matchups. Now, of course, it's pretty easy to say, okay, yeah, I've built for the meta, I'm all set. But do you actually know how to play against those various decks in the meta? It's one thing to put a poker in your deck, but it's a totally different thing to actually learn how to perhaps play around that chaos matchup a little bit better. Even though, I mean, you can't really play around the chaos matchup, but you can perhaps play around Sherrod a little bit better, or around CTB a little bit better, if you're actually prepared for all those matchups and you know what they're trying to do, how you can perhaps make it more annoying for them. That way you have a way better chance of actually beating them as well. That was it for today. If you found this interesting, please pick up our 0 damage gaming playmats at the link in the description. Like, even if you didn't enjoy this video, they're just beautiful anyway, so buy them. As you see, we have Sherrod and many other ones. I'll put a link in the description. Subscribe to the Solemn Vanguard channel, click the bell button to stay up to date, and let me know in the comment section if you have any more cool tips to get better at Vanguard perhaps that you can share with everyone else. And I will see you soon. Ciao.